And it's been a while since we recorded due to, well, I wouldn't call them unforeseen circumstances. They were very foreseen, but they were circumstances nonetheless. And we did not record, so we have played a lot of games probably in that time span, and I imagine this is going to be a lengthy segment. So, Jay, start us off with your Starfield, Microsoft, Bethesda propaganda.
I mean, what do you want me to say? It's, I am I'm 35 to 40 hours in right now. And what a game. I mean, first of all, Josh, is this a great era for gaming or the greatest era for gaming? There's absolutely just so much hotness out.
I mean, Outer Wilds came out a few years ago, so I don't think so. But
No, but it's... Even with Starfield out, like, it's been tough making that the main focus. But again, last night, I'm like 40 hours in. I've just now completed like one of the first parts of like the main story quest because I've just been doing so much other things, like it is. Okay. For me, RPGs were never my jam growing up. Not my type of game really until, as an adult. So things like that. And obviously as we've played through the podcast, the Final Fantasies and Dragon Warriors have been pretty great. But for me, I still take the world that you give me and I play that world. I don't role play. That's not really what I do. There's two games that I'm both playing right now, and they're the first times that I've ever really role played in a game. This and Cyberpunk 2077. And this time, I spent so much thought at the character creation screen. It's the first time I've ever sat there for probably an hour. Like, Courtney came, she was watching me, she left, came back, and she was like, "Oh, you're still on that screen." I was like, "But I haven't flushed it all out yet," because of like just the way they set it up for you. And this game is so big, which clearly you've heard about by now. It's so big and so expansive, and like do what you want, and there's so much you can do that I kind of had to set it up from the beginning. Like, okay, I'm gonna be like I have alien DNA. That's like in the game, like one of the perks that like. One of the things that I started off with, like I have mixed alien DNA. So I have that. I have this strength that nobody knows about, like this power, which jives with my character. Because like if you look at the bottom of the skill tree, there's like basically like superhuman abilities. Like if you can get to these skills to level them up. So my goal is to like, I'm essentially like this alien superhero that I like have built my backstory, and I'm playing it with the game.
Does it I'm just picking up trace things here and there from the universe around me about this game. I get the vibe. You played Skyrim, so you know what I'm talking about, what I'm referencing here. It sounds like there's like, I don't want it to come off as too derogatory, but it sounds like they have like a main component of the game is basically a direct rip on the Dragonborn skill set that you have in Skyrim, that like you are Dragonborn, so you have this extra set of skills that are derivative of what is essentially your main quest line in the game, that is like this power that you were born with that informs your main quest track. That's what it sounds like.
No, this is my choice. This is absolutely not what like anybody else would have.
But there isn't like a common
I feel like I've found. Not that I found. Again, like I haven't played the main quests like story part too much. Like I've done that, but I've done a lot of other things too. But nothing about that kind of lines up. Like for me, like at the beginning of the game, you get to select up to 3 different, I don't know what they're called, abilities, like things that are inherent about you. I chose like one of the, I don't know, 40 choices or something I chose was like mixed alien DNA, and then the other one was like, I forgot what it was now. I should have wrote it down. But basically, I chose like 2 of them. But everything else is just like your choice. Even all the skills you choose are your choice. So like I talk to people at work. Some people are just like, yep, they're always flying around doing like space pirate stuff. Courtney's like bought a house. I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. Like she's off like decorating houses somewhere like in space. But like for me, like I said, like I'm starting off in this mine, and I have these like inherent abilities that people don't know about that I'm learning about as I go, and I'm like a part of.
So
this,
dude,
like, citizenry. It's just
does
like
your
a whole
character
different
build?
trajectory.
Does your character build inform where you start the game in different places? Then is that what you're saying?
That I don't know. That I don't know. I know you start with like different, but like the things you choose at the beginning do affect, you know, what you want to do. Like if you're there's like some weird stuff about cooking, and like if you wanted to go like do that, obviously there's like quests you could go do that kind of like steer you off. But it feels like this is definitely not the game where like some games, if you're playing The Witcher, other games like that, like you can play the main storyline, and there's always side quests you can choose to do, or you can choose not to do. You know what? With any open world RPG, and a lot of times, depending on the game and depending on what those side quests are like, I'll choose whether or not to do them. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I want to do all the little things. Give me all the little special flashy things. Other games, I'm like, nope, just give me the main story because the side story stuff is nonsense. With this game, it feels like it's all good stuff. Like you just got to choose. Like this is what I'm going to do, you know. And I've heard from other people that once you complete the final game, or the main campaign rather, it somehow opens up even further in an unexpected way. And like there's like some people say like the game doesn't even start until you like beat the main campaign, which blows my mind because of all the stuff that I'm doing. And like I'll be playing this game for months. I have no idea when this game will end for me. You know what I mean? So it's just fantastic right now.
That's cool. That was definitely a drawback of Skyrim, was that if you allowed yourself to race through the main quest with Alduin, it kind of turned it into just like the rest of your experience was just chore stuff. But if you did all that side stuff before you completed the main quest, it felt, I don't know, more fulfilling or more meaningful, you know. Yeah. So it's cool that there's basically, at least if that's true anyways, that there's more, that it doesn't just kind of stop but still let you keep playing.
Yeah, like
when you finish the main quest.
Apparently like the world changes. Like I'm like careful, like I don't want to hear the spoilers, like I don't want to find it out, you know, but I've heard people saying like in meaningful ways, like just shocked at how like once it ended they're like, all right, I'm definitely, you know, new game plussing it kind of a thing. So we'll see. I'm nowhere near that, so we'll see. So amazing stuff about Starfield. I could sit here and talk all day about that. But the other game that I'm playing that I briefly mentioned was Cyberpunk 2077. Like I was back in the game. Like I played this pretty much up until Starfield came out. But you know, I played this back in the day, loved this game, and I only stopped because Elden Ring came out. So I was like, all right, I had to jump on that train finally and play through that. And so, like, you know, it's gotten better again. Like,
did you ever beat Elden Ring? Last I had heard, I don't think you had finished it.
I did not. I'm like so close to the end, so close. I need to just put in the time and just get it off my list one of these days. But no, it's still there, just haunting me and taunting me on my screen,
looming.
Exactly. But yeah, man, I essentially had to humble myself at Cyberpunk because I got stuck at this one spot. And despite all my best efforts to clear the cache and come back, you know, several times, still was never able to beat this spot. So I'm like, why? I just don't understand. So I said, I'm going to do it. Switched to easy. Got past that part. Then switched it back to normal. And now I'm back and having fun again. I don't know what was about that part. Maybe it was just too many enemies because it was just like kind of waves of enemies. And I would essentially just die.
Is that Bethesda 2 or no?
No, definitely not. That's Project Red. Or Seed Project Red.
I was going to say, most Bethesda games are not predicated on, it's in my experience anyways, the Fallouts and Skyrim. Like, if you hit a wall that's like battle-based, you should just go do something else and then come back at a higher level and it'll be easy, you know?
Well,
like, there's no...
Well, that's the sad thing, is like that's what had actually happened before and led me to that spot. Like I ran into a spot, but it was a much more like a big baddie, like a little mini boss kind of a situation. And I recognized that, and I was like, all right, well, I just happened to stop at that spot when I was turning the game off, and now it's just like, yeah, that's not the spot where you start over when you're super rusty. So I did that, you know, ran someplace else and got to this spot, and it happened again. That's why I'm like, okay, what is going on? Like, has it been too long? You know, do I just need to go back to like the practice stages and just get reacclimated? Like, what's going on? But like I said, I just switched to easy, beat the part, switched back to normal, and I was able to continue rolling. But the funny thing is about like this game is Starfield, man. Like, these two games are so amazing to me because they are the first. Again, I said the only games I've ever role played in. Starfield to the much larger degree, but they're the only games that like I walk around and talk to NPCs and feel like I need to like look at everything and talk to everybody and see what's going on, because not just because they might like give me new side quest stuff, but because they help build the story and because they might just be doing
that's such
cool
an
stuff.
indictment. That's such an indictment on and a shooting down of your opening thesis to this segment of this being the greatest gaming segment or greatest gaming era ever, is that traditionally it's all bullshit you don't need to pay attention to. That's like that's not an endorsement of it being the greatest era of gaming ever.
No, but I'm saying this stuff is like in these two games, it feels like, I guess what I'm saying is it feels like even most of the NPCs are interesting enough to go spend time with.
Sure, I understand that. But the fact that you're saying that this is the first two times you've done that's what I'm saying.
Because in other games they're pointless, it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. They're just they're just fucking
exactly
plot point fodder. I know. I believe me. I totally know what you're saying.
But it's more than just that too. It's more like, I know we're in the era of, procedurally generated content, things like that. But it feels like that's got to be a lot of this as well, because they're a lot more advanced, I guess, as well than you would see NPCs in the past. It's like everybody's doing something that is just much more than I've seen NPCs do before. You know what I mean? It's like, clearly back in the day you had like your main character, you had like, call it 5 to 10 enemies who would interact with you, and everything else was still, because that's all you could do. And then eventually, you'd have a couple NPCs that would give you quests, so you would do that, but everybody else is kind of just doing rote movements back and forth. But now it's like, it's almost like everybody's their own mini thing, doing things that you, like, not everybody has quests, but it feels like they all do. Like, you could just sit and just, like, have a story, a whole conversation, and it meant absolutely nothing, but you just went through this whole thing and just sat and had this whole discussion, instead of just, like, the whole, hey, good to see you there, mate, or, some random sentence that they say. Sure. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, it's just it helps that they're also beautiful games. So many screenshots that I could just take and just sit there and just stare, very colorful. I can't say enough about Cyberpunk 2077 and Starfield, and so I can't wait until the new DLC. Fucking
Skyrim comes out? Yeah, me either.
No, but the DLC for Cyberpunk I know is coming out soon, so I'm probably going to have to take a pause, Starfield, finish Cyberpunk, just so I can get ready for the DLC. So I'm excited with that. Idris Elba coming in. I mean, who can argue with that, Josh? Who can argue with that?
Idris Elba's good. Elba's good.
So
okay.
Those have been kind of like the two big and the two recent things, and then Age of Empires 4 dropped out of nowhere, seemingly. I was very pumped for that on the console. Kind of like I was talking about Age 2, just the controls, very, very well done. Just so I haven't played a ton of that. Definitely, they put you through kind of a get used to it kind of a campaign, so you get used to the controls, which is good. So you get used to all the little hotkeys and things like that you can do.
Sure.
So I'm very excited to play that. Gotta have my Age to be able to switch it up from time to time. Not everything has got to be like, go, go, go. I gotta have my people farming and building the mills and things like that.
Yeah, we haven't played fucking Civ in a while. Every now and again we Baldur's Gate now. That's also is a big, really curbs that opportunity. But every now and again, like, should we play Civ? Like, maybe. Doesn't happen.
I actually had Civ downloaded on my console until like I had to just get rid of stuff to to download Starfield, and so there it went. But yeah, playing some Age.
There gotta be a new one of those coming out too. I should Google that. Seven's got to be fucking some not too far around the corner.
And then probably the one that kind of snuck up on me was Vampire Survivors again. So
yeah, I can't believe you keep playing this game,
dude. So I hadn't. It was gone from my console. I was pretty much over it. But then they unlocked or they released this multiplayer mode. And since again, you're really just moving your character around the screen, you know what I mean? Like it's not more complex than that. It's all about building your build and everything. It's couch co-op. So me and all three of the kids play together, you know, so that even my littlest who's 4, the biggest thing we have to do with him is say, hey, you got to stay with us. Let's go left. Let's go right. You know what I mean? Like that's all we're coordinating. So it's really fun to be able to get all the kids together. You know, any kind of co-op game that we can kind of couch is going to be fun. And so with that, I finally unlocked some weapon combinations that I hadn't unlocked before. Because I just didn't want to look stuff up and I was just getting annoyed because there was like a couple combinations that I knew the little question marks missing. Like, I can't, what is that? I can't, this is not 100%. Like, what am I missing here? And I was just frustrated. But this time I just finally looked it up and I was like, all right, so this is what I got to go do. Did it, unlocked combinations. And so I finally evolved my clock lancet with these 2 rings, allowing me to kill Red Death and survive to minute 31. After which Death, who was Gray himself, comes and eventually ends the fun. But that was an achievement that I never got before. Finally got that. So I feel like I can finally put it to bed and just kinda,
life is complete.
Exactly. Consider this just a multiplayer family game going forward. And, you know, it's still a good relaxing game when nothing's going on. And I just kind of need to veg out and listen to a podcast or whatever, you know.
Word.
And then probably the last game... NBA 2K24.
How did I know it'd come out? Jesus Christ.
So the funny thing is, I still haven't got Mortal Kombat 1 because that's like on the list. I have to buy it, and I was planning on buying it immediately, but I can't. Like I just have to wait. Like it can wait a couple weeks. Because I got NBA 2K. I got hooked up with NBA 2K, I should say. And so the My Team mode, my favorite mode, where you get in the cards of each player and putting together your own team. That's my favorite mode. So my Seattle Surge are created again, you know, in the Bellevue Square Arena, downtown. And yeah, it's a blast. The game itself is fun. I do not like some of the changes they made. They made it so that there's not really a player-to-player
open
card
market. Can you do fucking layups? Anymore. Can you do fucking layups?
You can do layups, although I've definitely missed a couple and been very pissed and wanted to slam my controller. That still happens from time to time. But I think that's more user error, honestly, with me at this point. So,
okay. I wonder how did they do anything? I know it's not your mode, but did they do anything to the fucking RPG?
I don't know.
Mode,
I don't know. I haven't checked
mode?
it out yet. I have not checked it out yet.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was definitely a fun mode too. I liked that one too before I found out.
It was awesome. I hated the fucking basketball with a passion, but the story stuff was cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's really, I don't know, maybe one of those steep mastery type of things, you know? I don't know. Because I really think the game itself is good. Like the graphics now, because I think the last version I had also might have been an Xbox One version. And this one is clearly the Series X version. So the graphics are amazing. And it just looks so good. And it feels good when you make shots and do what you're supposed to do. But also super frustrating when you're like, would LeBron really miss that layup? Come on. You know?
Right.
That still happens from time to time.
Yeah, I struggle hard with that.
Man, those are pretty much the games that I have been jamming on.
That sounds like a pack of 5 weeks or whatever it's been. That doesn't sound like a disproportionate amount of games for the time allotted. Word. Okay. Well, the big thing is still Baldur's Gate. I have my Tiefling Ranger campaign with Amy. It's just fucking Divinity Sin style questing. There's really not a lot to talk about minutia-wise. It is cool how probably the most fun thing for me is as my levels are scaling on this ranger, the animal companions that you can conjure, their levels also scale. So like, you know, you have a whole range of things you can conjure, like a bear, a wolf, a boar, a spider. There's a bird of some kind. There's another one too. I'm pretty sure it's 6. But you know, they each have as though they level up, they get special abilities too. And like the bear has this honey paw attack, which is just a fun name to me. But he
the honey paw.
He basically, it's a swipe attack that does damage too, but it will rip the weapon out of the enemy's hand. So like it'll basically incapacitate them offensively for 1 or 2 turns, and just little shit like that. Just like little minutia that I just never would have guessed that was coming, and maybe that is honestly, I think I'm level 5 or 6. Maybe that could be a thing that standard D&D has as well. Tabletop D&D has as well already, and I just haven't played that enough to know that. But either way, these things happen and come up and become available to you that like there's just so much development stuff with the characters that it's just really fun how you're just surprised, like, ooh, that's a really cool new thing I can do. And like you're offered so much stuff, and this is not unique to this RPG most of this way. You're obviously offered more things than you can actually employ or select and use, whatever, so there's replayability there, of course, but there's just, you can't even, and like, you can read a description and you can look at an icon and like you think you know what that means, or you think you know how you would employ it, or you think you know how it would be fun to use, but until you get in there and you really start fucking with it, you don't really know. So like, yeah, there's just so much that you'd have to play it so many times to really get a feel for everything and experience everything with what I think is the core fun of the game, and that is the development of your character. And the storyline is good too, but it's not like anything mind-blowing. It really is just about like building that dude or your characters and fucking molding them into the thing that would be most fun for you to play with, And it's cool too because Jab and I started a campaign as well, separate campaign. So I went a totally different route with that, and I picked a dragonborn bard, and which is couldn't be further from character-wise. Like a bard is like, there's all these weird, unique things with him that's completely different. So yeah, it's just it's revealing how much. Because there's a 2-pronged thing with that. It's like you're replaying, so like kind of the broad strokes already, because you've already played through them in the other campaign. But this game has so much minutia, and your individual character really changes the way the world interacts with you, and then vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there really is a way to play it the same way with a different character. You're going to have a completely unique experience, and then you're adding Jab to it instead of Amy, so that's like a completely different thing too. And it really is like such a well developed and open experience that you and the way you play it customize what that experience is in a really, really impressive way. And I think that's probably has a lot to do with like the response to that game being so fucking positive. I think it's just the level of customization that's capable or possible in it is pretty wild. It's cool that having the bard character has, I don't know if these were already, I'm sure they were already circulating, but I'm noticing a lot of things on Twitter and shit. It's like, it's one of the really memed up aspects of the game is 4 bard parties and then naming them a certain band, like a weird 80s band name or something, is a pretty fun. I'm not really into memes and shit, but there's been some pretty funny ones. The look you can change of your characters, it's infinite, of course, again, not unique to this game, at this stage of the game for gaming in general, but bards in particular, because they are entertainers, and that's he's an entertainer too. So like, there's all these skills that are predicated on just, they're charisma fueled things, basically, where just your ability to be interesting as a person, or he's not a person, he's a dragonborn, but he's fucking whatever, as a character, influences the way that you just approach it. You approach things completely different. Like Jab and I will be like, we've like devised this little communication system where like when we're approaching something, it's like a binary thing. Like either I go first and interact with them first because we're worried about needing to disarm them in some way, shape, or form. And my character is infinitely more capable of doing that, as opposed to someone who looks benign and not a threat. Then it's kind of whatever, jab, go talk to him, whatever, So it's just, it's just such a level of, those numbers are always present in these games, but the actual effect they have on your experience varies wildly, And in this game, it is highly influential. Like a charismatic person, just as in real life, completely changes the way the world interacts with you, in an awesome, to an awesome degree, and that's really cool. I think,
Nice.
So yeah,
nice.
that is
Trying
to play.
There.
Yeah. Trying to play weekly with Jab, and then Amy and I just jam whenever happens. So I think we haven't even Amy and I we got to, because it's got like this, like when you leave the act, you kind of wall off everything that was left to do in that, but it gives you the courtesy of telling you, like, if you leave and do this thing, you can't do any of the other shit. So we're like, we didn't even understand what it was saying to us at first, so we went through, and then like saw everything that we wanted to still do get taken from us, and we're like, fuck that, load. So we're still in the first act of the game, and of course I'm still there with Jab. So long way to go on the plays, I think. And there's just again, not unique at this point to this type of game, but so much shit. Long way to go. So, been playing a lot of that, and then Space Quest 1, the Edit Config Sys quest that Jab and I are doing. I finished that. We're probably going to maybe lay that down, the second and final episode of that, next weekend. But they're such simple games. Like, I know why I couldn't finish them or do them as a kid, because kids are fucking idiots, but man, does it leave me disappointed playing through that whole game. Leave me disappointed in my 13-year-old self, like it's just,
really?
It's so simple and easy. And I just can't believe there was a developmental stage for me that I was just like completely stumped. Just like, oh no, I just give up. I can't. I just don't even know. Yeah. It's fucking depressing.
It's called growth mindset, Josh.
Yeah, I guess, but it's also, you must have been pretty stupid. So yeah, played a lot of that until I got it off the list, and then another walkabout course drop. Alfheim was the name. I think this is one. I think you'll be really into this one actually. But it is an elven forest village setting.
Okay.
So it's like, everything that comes with that kind of this fantastical medieval fantasy type vibe. And the actual courses, I haven't even played that. I think I did play the hard one, but I don't know if I got the putter yet. But they have a lot of these soft curves to them where you need to kind of like ride a rail, with like a really delicate touch to it. And it's one of those things. It's like a mechanic, a new mechanic that hasn't been really used. And I've said more than enough times now, it's iffy whether when they introduce something really different mechanically, whether it's really good or not. It might be unique and interesting, but it's not something maybe that feels good. This one feels good. It's unique and interesting, and it feels good. And it's, I don't know, predictable. Like that's the thing that pisses me off with like the lasers and the Upside Downtown is like, it's kind of unpredictable, and like, beating a dead horse on it. But the fun of mini golf is like, I can strategize and like, be good at something and do the thing that I want to do, and this
not just
still
swing and just hope. And
hope it works out. Yeah, that's not any fucking fun. This is not. So pretty fucking cool, really beautiful, of course, and I've had a lot of fun with that. I haven't had a ton. I didn't take my headset to Ohio, so it dropped right before I left, so I haven't got a chance to fuck with it a ton. But it's pretty fun. We should jump in and take a look at that. Nice. I found one of the balls I found on the easy course was a 20-sided die ball, which I thought was just so fun and smart, and of course made me very happy. So that's certainly the ball I'm rocking with now. And then the last thing is the new Tecmo Super Bowl dropped. All of them dropped. There's a bunch of people that make them now. You can go to tecmosuperbowl.org or tecmobowl.org rather. Link is in the show notes for this one specifically. S Blue Man is the modder that I like to download the shit from. I think his are the best. I mean, it's the most downloaded one, so I'm not alone in that opinion. But I got the new one of that, and whenever I'm going to the Bills games, I always play a shit ton of that on the plane rides and stuff. So played a bunch of weeks of the new one, and it's cool. I'm so, it's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful little niche of humanity that has embraced this fucking 30-year-old game the way they have, and they put so much TLC into just, of course, the updates to make it current with the players and stuff. And they even changed there's only a handful of the little pictures that you can choose from of like different looking players, but they still like tried to pick the one that would best match the current player in question. Yeah. So there's all this little TLC stuff with the individual rosters and shit. But also, they're constantly devising and improving like play nuances, like gameplay nuances. And, the S Blue Man, for example, I think there's 3 of them. There's like the base version, the vanilla version, the hard type version. There actually might be a 4th too. But basically, each one, like the base version has all these things. They're just like quality of life improvements and stuff over the base, game. The original game. And then the vanilla one is like, I think it's like a slight difficulty. They try to like rebalance. There's a lot, if you play a lot of Tecmo, there's a lot of little things. Like, there's this one play, a shotgun play, that has the second receiver from the top runs this little kind of rounded out route and stops. And that's an important thing because some routes don't stop. And again, you have to play a lot of Tecmo for this to mean anything to you at all. But some routes don't stop. And those are more dangerous routes because you don't know how much the quarterback's going to lead them. It's easier to, if they're running off screen, you can't see if there's defenders that are going to jump the route. There's all these things that are that add more variance to routes that don't stop. The ones that stop and on screen, you can see that they're not covered and that they're not going anywhere. So there's not going to be any variance to the throw. It's, a quarterback can still bounce the ball off the turf or whatever, but the odds are much higher that it's going to go where you want it to go. But also, this route stops in an amount of time that when the defense stunts your play, they call your play, this route stops in time for you to get the ball out before you get sacked, And that is like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's like, if you are later in the season and the computer's cheating its ass off, as the computer does as you go throughout the season, it gets more bullshit and like, is harder, that's the way Nintendo introduces hard, though, it just cheats. So, like, as you get later in the season, that shit's happening a lot. That play is critical, because you have a dump-off that doesn't just totally kill the play and you lose 8 yards, So, like, they take that away, though. They get rid of that. Like, it's not as dependable. And little shit like that just, like, you think you've fucking,
mastered it.
Yeah, you think you fucking got around the game's bullshit. Yeah, and it's like, nope, no, we know, we're players too, we know, and they fix shit like that, and it's like it completely changes that game experience, and it's to care that much, to think about that stuff and play with it the way they do is just a really, really beautiful thing that I love. Is an ongoing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's so fucking cool. So yeah, tecmobowl.org. Fucking, it's better than the Madden game by, like, I don't even know what the quotient would be. a massive amount. So highly recommend to go grab that.